One of the things I really like about YouTube is the comments. And Michael Pierce, 8592, these digits after the name, they do make me feel as if I'm reading out some sort of prisoner list. But anyway, Michael Pierce, thank you very much. Responding to a video about Mrs. May tries to blame Boris for her own failings. Well, yes, of course she did. And Michael has said the trouble with Mrs. May was that she was not strong enough. Absolutely. She was weak. You don't get that confused with the word wheat, which was the field through which she enjoyed running. And Mrs. May, incredibly weak, and trying desperately, like Liz Truss, to be strong in the mould of her heroine, Margaret Thatcher. But the point was, Thatcher was actually not that strong. Thatcher didn't. Thatcher already had the reputation for being an iron lady. So, in fact, she was able to concentrate on the things which matter: learning, discovering, taking lessons from Gordon and all the others about lowering her voice and reducing the speed of her delivery, and getting advice about what policies to pursue. It was only when she stopped taking advice that she became a disaster, an absolute disaster. I mean, there were many policies that she pursued which were awful and which destroyed our country, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the character of a leader, and whether we like her or whether we don't like her, whether we like or we don't like her policies, we cannot but recognise that she was a strong leader. Where does that strength come from? Thatcher would have said it came from uniting politics and Christianity. I think she's wrong. I think that's hokum. I think there's plenty of other good world religions, not just Christianity. But uniting politics with ethics, yes, maybe that's why Oxford ran courses in PPE, politics, philosophy and economics, and philosophy in the ancient world was very much a euphemism for religion, morality. And so you go back to that. So whatever decisions you take politically are based, rooted in an understanding of the fact that ordinary people are going to be affected, and the laws you are making are imposed on ordinary people. You are having an effect on their lives. This is a moral decision. And right at the beginning of her ministry, and as I say, make a distinction between the laws she pursued. Many of them were divisive. Many of them were not great. I think of Clause 28. I think of the miners' dispute. I think of that great division between North and South. But think instead of the character and the theatricality of the lady, because she is unmatched, really, in the 20th century. We can think of Wilson as another great theatrical leader, but he didn't quite have her charisma. He was also somebody who I think had the humility to listen to others, as did Callaghan, but Callaghan didn't have the staying power. Callaghan was in and out, really, in the blink of an eye. Blair had it for a short time. Cameron didn't have it, but then he never had it even in Oxford. I was always told to walk on the other side of the street and to avoid Cameron. Cameron ended up as my MP. He was quite useful when I asked him for help, and within 2 days we were in the Foreign Office collecting a bundle of papers which replicated the papers which had been stolen from us when we were in Greece. Great, very efficient, but not, I think, a man with humility. But Thatcher started her whole time off with a statement about humility, and you say, Thatcher humble? Well, think again, because I think that's what she wanted to be. Remember when she was picking up litter? She was picking up the litter herself, bending down and picking up the papers which had been put on the floor for the photo opportunity. She actually got down and dirty. But this is the point. Right at the beginning of her time, she quoted St. Francis of Assisi, and I defy anybody to think of a religious leader who sums up humility more than Francis of Assisi. Where there is despair, let us bring hope. For it's in giving that we receive. A great lesson, a great prayer, the prayer of St. Francis. Now, did she live up to that? Of course she didn't. But Mrs. May was going in the other direction. Mrs. May wanted to be imperious. Thatcher wanted to be humble. Did Thatcher succeed? No. Did Mrs. May succeed? Yes, in a sort of fatuous, mindless way. The only time she managed to be imperious was when she was standing behind Boris Johnson long after she'd actually resigned, and she gave him a ticking off. The clock is ticking anyway. I better go.